Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Cathy's Carnivore Journey. It is week 10, and we are here with Cathy right now to do our weekly check-in and see how she's going. And Cathy, today and yesterday, not so good. Carnivore was fine, was it? But maybe you've got a bit of a bug or something like that. And you were just sort of saying before we started rolling that you had to do an interview this morning. So you thought, I've got the makeup on, might as well jump on and have our little check-in, and then you can go collapse and finish getting better. So how are you feeling?
Yeah, I think yesterday we were supposed to chat and I would have scared the audience yesterday. I really looked very pasty and did not feel well. So yeah, today's the day where I had to put makeup on and get dressed and put a bra on. So I thought today's the optimal day. Let's just go for it. So yeah, I mean, I have been sick. Like you can hear, I've got a head cold. So I've had a bit of a scratchy throat, my nose and everything. And I felt pretty rotten yesterday, but I still plodded on with things. So it didn't completely wipe me out.
Mhm.
So I do feel like eating this way, which is obviously all whole foods,
Mhm.
is helpful because I feel like even though I'm sick, I haven't plummeted into sickness. Like I'm not feeling 100%, but like previously it would have knocked me out for a week. I'd have been quite poorly. So with my autoimmune stuff. So considering I'm sick, I feel pretty strong and solid, which is great.
That's really great. And as I said, I think in a text that I sent you when you told me that you had some kind of a bug. Actually, what you did was you said, not feeling good. Can we postpone our catch up? And I said, is it carnivore? Is it a symptom or is it a bug? And you sent back an emoji of a bug. And I said to you then, and I'll say for everybody watching now, that I have experienced exactly the same thing. I've been a carnivore for just basically over a year and 1 month. And I have been sick like a bug 3 times, and each time I was sick for less than 24 hours. The first one was 3 months into carnivore last Christmas when I came down with something that it was nasty. It felt like flu or something. And there was RSV going around. And the way that I felt, I had chills, I had a bit of a fever, I felt like my head was aching, I had body aches. I had all the things that, just like you, I would have thought, I'm not going to be well for about 4 or 5 days, you know? That's the trajectory that I've had my whole life. Even when I was a little kid, when I feel this way, it's at least 5 days, at least 4 days minimum. And I noticed that I felt unwell on Christmas Eve morning. I had to spend the whole afternoon. I had driven to my sister-in-law's place and I was going to be spending Christmas with the family. And I was in bed the whole afternoon, got up for like an hour, went back to bed. I said, this is great. Like, I've driven all this way and I want to have a fun Christmas with everybody. And I woke up totally fine in the morning. And I've had those 2 other times. They didn't even last a whole 24 hours. At one time it was like 5 hours, and it was a bug. It wasn't like stomach issues. So it's not like a food thing that was bad and goes through you and then you're fine, or you throw up and you're fine. It was not food related at all. It definitely felt like it was some kind of bug. And I just felt like my body just took care of it so much faster, so much more efficiently than ever before. And I don't have, that I know of, or didn't have any autoimmune conditions. That was just what I thought was healthy, what I thought was normal. You get a bug, takes several days to kind of process through it. Oh, and if you're sick for like 3 weeks or something, your cat, that's so funny, little tail goes by. If you're sick for something like 3 weeks, even then it doesn't raise alarm bells. Usually it's like, oh, this one's really hanging on. Like I had one a few years ago that was like 6 weeks, and I started to get worried after about 6 weeks, but then other people were saying the same thing. Oh no, this one really hangs on. And then it eventually went away, and it was a bit of bronchial stuff and something else. So it's normal for it to take a long time. So I thought. My new normal is that it processes pretty quickly. And then there have been other times, I think one of these 3 times, where I became aware that my body was fighting something off, but it didn't stop me from just carrying on with my life. It was really weird because it's like my body's immune system saying, no, keep doing what you're doing. I'm handling it, taking care of this over here. It's like, if there's a fight, like a bar fight happening in another part of in another room, and you can kind of hear it every now and then, someone throws somebody against the bar and somebody like the old Westerns, someone throws someone out the window, a piece of furniture breaks. Oh well, they'll sort it out. And you just keep working, keep doing things, and you're not that impacted. That's the way it felt. So
I want to go to the
I
bars
hope
that
that
you go to. They sound really interesting.
they're all in movies. they're all Westerns, bar fights. It's and outer space cantinas, like one of the shows that I worked on. So, how have you been in this last week? Other than that bug, how have you been doing with the carnivore? Just the food and energy and all those other things. What's happening?
Well, I think mentally, it was a bit of a different week for me this week, and possibly because I was brewing to be sick. So my kids have been sick, and I had the 8-year-old comes to sleep with me when she's sick, and she's all up in my grill. So I'm like, because they've got no sense of boundaries when they're sick, they just want to be all up in you. So, but I have to say, like, my son wasn't feeling 100%, but he hasn't been off sick yet, which is unlike him. So I think as a family, just an aside, but as a family, we're eating less sugar, we're
Mm.
eating less everything, because I suppose because I've shifted, my perspective has shifted. And so they still have snacky things and whatever, but not not a lot of stuff at all. And so maybe I'm thinking that would help their immune systems as well, because they're not consuming the stuff that they would have consumed. And my fridges are a lot cleaner than they've ever been, because I haven't got the manky old bit of leek back in the fridge that I forgot about that I was going to make soup with. Do you know what I mean? So the fridges are quite clean. So that's amazing. Because very little waste now, very little waste, which is amazing. It's a big, big change. That's good for the economy of this house. But yeah, generally I was getting a bit frustrated with myself. Like I was like feeling a bit like, oh, I don't feel like I'm slimming down. I don't feel this. I don't feel that. But I think it's because I was brewing. And so I possibly wasn't at my finest, because actually, when you look at it logically, I am trimmer for sure. I mean, even this morning, we're all getting ready for school. It's a bit frantic in the mornings because I get up and I cook everybody breakfast because I want them. And I was doing that I was going to say pre-dinosaur, pre-carnivore, because I just want them to go to school with that full tummy and that protein and set them up for the day. And so I get up really early. I cook everybody breakfast. We've got a big family. I do all of their lunches, and then we're like getting everybody ready. And Taya comes into my room to get dressed because she needs chivying. I need to chivvy her. So it's like, right, clean your teeth. Right, let's do your hair. Right, go to the loo. Right, come on, come on, come on. So I've got her in my zone so I can get her ready. And I was getting ready this morning, and obviously I'm dressing and whatever. And she went, Mum, just to let you know, your boobs are smaller. And I just went, thank you. So, I mean, I'm getting dressed in my corner of the room. She's getting dressed in her corner of the room, but she's just like, and I just want to announce, I was like, thank you, Taya. So that's quite good, because I think they have shrunk a bit, which is a relief, because they were quite large, and there's a bit of a weight on your back, you don't realize till you sort of walk out of the pool. And then you're like, actually, this
Mm.
is really heavy. What is going on? So that's great. And I've adjusted my bra as well to scoop it up a
Mhm.
bit, which is lovely. So they're not, I'm no longer getting grazes, which is great. They're up higher, which
Oh,
is lovely.
that's a
So,
significant change.
yeah. So I think, like, logically, when you look at it, there have been significant changes. I think sometimes the impatience it gets into me, and I want a year's progress today. But
Yeah.
then I have to reflect on, it's only been 10 weeks in one sense, but in the other sense, it's been 10 weeks and I'm still on it. Like, that hasn't happened for the last 3 decades.
Yeah, I'm the same way. The longest I've stayed on anything at all in like 1995, I think. I did this thing where it was this thing I had bought online, like somebody's sort of little PDF weight loss thing. I can't even remember what it was called now, but what it talked about is that you have to eat 3 meals and you have to set a place for yourself and you have to sit down and you have to make the actual eating. The eating itself has to take no less than half an hour. So it was all about this kind of mindfulness thing. And then there was an exercise component of walking. And so I started doing that and I lost a lot of weight and I was really I was getting a lot of emotional fulfillment from that. Set the place for myself, sit down, ritualize it. It made me kind of spend more time cooking. It had recipes and different things that you're supposed to eat. It was the standard American diet, but not the processed food version. It was all whole foods and stuff like that. But, a lot of vegetables and, the healthy starches and things like that. And there was meat and fish and everything like that. So it was kind of what they would call the balanced diet. And it was more about, if I was going to sit down, set a place for myself, I wanted to kind of spend a bit more time cooking, making something kind of nice. And when you do less processed meals, the cooking itself isn't so involved. You're like grilling a piece of fish and you're taking and steaming some vegetables and mixing some butter with it or something like that. So I did lose weight. I was on that for 3 months. And I remember thinking, I'm sorted now for the rest of my life. This is what I'm going to do. I found the thing that works. And all it took was, because I was eating so little food, really. I mean, the portions weren't very big and it was really all low fat. It was all about low fat and veg and so on. My stomach was pretty empty most of the time. And I went on a diving trip and I had to arrive at the dive boat at like 8 o'clock at night or 7 or something like that, and get all sorted. And then we get into our bunks and then the boat leaves in the morning and it's a 7-hour trip out to where we actually do the dive. And I'd had my dinner and it was an hour drive to where the dive boat was. And so I was being so good. I was drinking water. I was just really hydrating like crazy. So my stomach was empty of food and full of water.
Mm.
And anybody watching this who doesn't already know, that is how you make yourself seasick. I'd never been seasick before. The only kind of motion sickness I ever had was if I was in a car trying to read or something. Like, I knew, no, if you want me to look at a map, we pull over, because the second I see text and I'm in a moving car, I'm like, whoa, wow. If you've never had seasickness, oh my goodness. So I was empty stomach, full of water, sleeping in this bunk under, like, below deck on really choppy seas, and the smell of diesel coming in through where we were all sleeping. I have never been so sick in my entire life. That whole thing was ruined and there's no way to get off the boat. It was a 6-foot swell that day. It was really intense. This is back in California. And they told me, they said, what did you eat? And they were giving me ginger sodas and things like that, because that's supposed to settle your stomach. All that did was put more fluid in my stomach and make it even worse. It was the most hellish I have ever felt in my entire life. And they told me the problem was that I had, because of having a full stomach, they're saying it's better to have a stomach full of food before you get on a boat. And don't drink a ton of water on a boat. Hydrate, but don't, because the water sloshes around and increases the susceptibility to seasickness. Anyway, I came back after that experience and I was off that diet.
Yeah.
And that's the longest I'd managed to stay on something. I felt very virtuous the whole time I was doing it. I was like, this is my new way of eating. But I look back now and realize the reason I came off it was that I wasn't getting enough nutrition. And so when I had that seasickness experience, it destabilized that magical illusion that I had created, that this was my new way of eating and it was perfect and I was really happy with it. It put me in a stress state and then everything fell apart. That's 3 months. That's the longest. The second longest one was about 3 years ago when I did the OptiFast meal replacement shakes. 2 months, 8 weeks. I did that. Lost a lot of weight. It's so much sugar. It's not even funny. And I did
Yeah.
the ones that are the high protein kind of ones. Both of those times, the weight cascaded back on. The second I stopped following the very rigid, kind of unsustainable practices, the weight just fell back on me, like, and more, plus. And then anything else I've ever done, I've been able to maintain for maybe 3 weeks, maybe 6 weeks at a stretch. The rest all kind of blur together, because that kind of discipline only lasts for that amount of time. The short-term planning part of your brain, the actual part of you that rules long-term ability to stick to something, has to be fed in a deeper way. You need to be really feeling fulfilled and satiated and emotionally stable. And so here I am, a year and a month later, and knowing that losing what took you decades to gain is something that is, the longer it takes, the more permanent it is, in terms of just the less kind of you can be destabilized by, doing one of those carnivore slip off the wagon thing that people sometimes do. And I was so careful to not even go near that for the first 6 months. Don't do anything. I didn't have a single thing that wasn't carnivore. I mean, it was dirty carnivore because I was doing spices and Diet Cokes and pepper, and what else was I doing? That was basically it. It was still all carnivore, but it was kind of dirty carnivore. So I didn't have a carb until like 6 months in. And then I did so very carefully, just really carefully, because I didn't want to wake some sleeping giant. And it was, it just went by without incident. And then of course, in the other video, I talked about my eating my entire loaf of sourdough bread over like a 2-day period and so on. I've learned my lesson about that kind of stuff, but that's more about my excessive reaction to having a loaf of sourdough in the house. There's no other thing in my life that, there's no other obstacle on the journey, on the path that I need to really be careful of. Having said that, I have found that artificial sweeteners, and I talked about this before. So if this is something that you want, so it's week 10, you are 2.5 months in. If you want to tweak something, and you're still losing weight, it's not like you're in a stall. So you don't have to tweak anything. But if you want to tweak something, then I would say these are the things to look at. And you might already have taken these out of what you eat, but all dairy, taking out all dairy, just complete no cheese, no butter, no cream. You can do eggs. That's not really dairy, but basically like take all sort of any cow product that isn't beef out of the equation. And how are you doing on that, on like the dairy? What's your kind of consumption of butter and dairy? How much do you eat per day, per week?
So not very much now, but I have to say, because I haven't felt well, I have been having cream over the last few days in my coffee and my Element hot chocolate, which felt very decadent. But bearing in mind, previously, if I'd have been sick, I'd have been overeating everything sugary and bad and all of the things that were really horrible for me. So I haven't given myself a hard time over it. I've just thought, I'm not very well. This feels nourishing for me right now. This feels like a little bit of care, a little hug in a cup.
Mm.
But I have been cutting down on my cream,
Mm-hmm.
which has been great. I haven't really had any butter. I don't really
Uh-huh.
have cheese. I had a little bit
Mm-hmm.
last night. I tasted a little bit because the kids had some, but I just tasted it. I went,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I could take it or leave it. I'm not fussed. But yeah, the cream is the one thing that I have kept more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, and I think when it gets warmer as well, those things naturally fall away for me. It's the winter months
Mm.
when I want to snuggle in with a nice, nice hot something with, but I've had coffee without the cream and there's not much difference, but I have got those chocolate elements, because we were talking about having a hot beverage that wasn't hot water with salt in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you just
Mm-hmm.
feel like you want something more. And so I've
Yeah.
got the elements and I do put a little dollop of cream in that. And that just feels like I've treated myself. And that's emotionally stabilizing for me, because before I would have eaten lots of, not so much chocolate, but definitely cake and
Mm.
danishes and anything like that for comfort. So I feel like I'm weaning myself off of that slowly and gently, because also
Mm.
one of the things that I feel has been sustaining on this new way of being
Mm-hmm.
has been that it's felt nourishing. I felt fed. It hasn't felt emotionally depriving, because I mean, like, Ian's home this week, so we've had some lovely steaks. I don't normally buy such extravagant steaks, but I've allowed him to. I've just got to go out and see what you can find. And then I'm working away and he
Surprise me,
goes to the
delight me.
butcher. Yeah, he goes to the butcher and brings all this stuff home. I'm like, yay. I'd never buy that for myself, but because he's buying it, it's perfectly fine. And so we've had two beautiful steaks yesterday and today. And so you feel fed.
Yeah,
And I
it's hard
think
to feel sorry for yourself
previously,
when you're eating a steak.
yeah, and I haven't, previously I've done keto, I've done Slimming World, I've done Weight Watchers, I've done the shakes at the behest of my doctor, I've done all of the things and felt like I was being punished.
Yeah.
And now I don't feel like I'm being punished. I mean, I did eggs and
Mm.
bacon for everybody this morning because I cook every morning. It's either eggs and bacon or eggs and sausage or something. Our butcher's doing black pudding now, so we're very excited because that's an English delicacy. So we're very
Mm-hmm.
excited to have black puddings. We've had that 2 days in a row,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't feel like I'm being punished. I
Yeah.
feel perfectly fine about everything. And the other day, I haven't spoken to you. I was very excited. I bought the mince from the butcher, and I've asked him for the
Uh-huh.
fattiest mince, really. Because when you go to the supermarket, of course, they've cut all of the fat out. So it's very dry
Absolutely.
mince.
Yeah,
So I
they
went and
brag
got
about how lean it is.
exactly. And so I went to the butcher and said, I just want your fattiest mince. And he said, well, that's this at the moment. I said, okay, great. So I bought a kg, half kg, whatever it was. As I was going to cook it off for the children, And I thought, grabbed a handful, put it in a ball, put it on my baking paper, did 4 of those, nothing in it, no salt, no pepper, no nothing, no egg, no nothing to bind it. I went, well, I'll just see how it goes. So I did these 4 big meatballs and expecting one big, huge patty to come out. Do you know what I mean? I expected it to melt into each other and just be this one thing. But I thought that'd be okay. I could just eat it with a spoon or a fork. It'd be fine. But they held. I think because they were so fatty, they held. And so
Yeah.
that night I just had 4 meatballs for tea. And that was perfectly fine because I'd had a bigger lunch. Because I find having a bigger lunch, I sleep better, having a lighter dinner.
Yeah.
So that was great. So I thought, oh, okay. So the fattier the mince, the better, because that obviously held its shape and everything is super great. So
You
yeah,
know,
that was
any
great.
mince, it's not just the fattiness that makes it hold its shape. The only reason that we are taught or pick up from, family and friends that you're supposed to add binders, it's to
Yeah.
extend the meat. It's
Right.
not required to hold it together. So, I mean, I made that yesterday. I had a kilo that I had defrosted from my cow portions. I've got like 3 kilos left. I put it in the fridge and then it takes about 24 hours to be defrosted enough. And I make it into little meatballs about this big, no binders of any kind, no egg, no anything. And I just cook them on baking paper for about 15 minutes and then salt them. Delicious.
But you said you added bacon as well, and I haven't done that
Oh,
yet. I must
I
add
added
bacon.
bacon for flavor. That's true. Yes, I did that yesterday
Mm.
too. In fact, I had bought bacon from Costco. That's the American style streaky bacon that comes in sort of like 3 big packets that are all kind of stuck together. And so, yeah, I took a whole packet of bacon, cut it into fourths, like the big wedge of it, and then peeled them all apart, sprinkled them in the air fryer, cooked them until they were not 100% crispy, not like chips, but definitely most of the fat, probably three quarters of the fat was rendered out of them. So I got the flavor, saved the bacon fat, minced all of that cooked bacon up and then mixed it in with the meatballs. But the bacon doesn't create any binding. In fact, it would do the opposite.
But for
Anything like that
flavor,
would.
I think I'll try that next time.
Oh my goodness. And then making them into smaller meatballs. In fact, that's what I had for breakfast this morning. I heated up like 4 of them. And then about an hour ago, I just ate 2 cold ones from the fridge because it's so easy. They're so delicious, even cold.
Such a great snack to have in as well, though, because if you're on the move, I think that's something. My next evolution is going to be having snacks available because sometimes
Yeah.
I'm meetings. I'm like, oh, I feel hungry, but I haven't got time, and I don't want to grab. Like, I just can't. Like, there was stuff in the cupboard the other day. Like, I'd got these almost like a pan au chocolat, but not quite for the children. And previously, I'd have eaten a couple of those just to put me on through the next meeting, and I just like, no, I don't want that, and I didn't have anything to eat. And what did I have in the end? I did. That's right. I'd been out. It was a disaster. I went out to a networking thing, great networking thing. But if I lived it again, I'd do it differently because I hadn't
Uh-huh.
quite understood the setup. And it was you paid for your ticket and then it was lunch included, but there was a
Oh
very
yeah.
limited lunch menu. And I wish, in hindsight, 2020 hindsight, I wish I'd said, I'll just pay separately and get a steak because I thought
Yeah.
it's going to be a pub menu. I'm definitely going to be able to buy a steak, and I wasn't able to. So the closest thing I could get was burger patties. So I
Uh-huh.
ordered 2 burger patties. Oh God, they were dry as. It was like eating cardboard. It was really grim. Like I was struggling to
Oh.
swallow them. I only ate one.
Oh.
And so in
Yeah.
hindsight,
Oh,
I wish I
wow.
had I just said, look, I'm going to go off. I pay extra and get a steak. I wish I'd done that now. But anyway,
Mm.
on the way through, I was picking up the kids and then I was coming straight into training. I was like, I am starving because I hadn't had breakfast. My body's now used to having something solid in it to carry it through the day. I hadn't had anything really. And
Yeah.
I was like, what can I get? What can I get? Because I'm in a rush. And I got
Uh-huh.
ham from the deli. And
Perfect.
so while I was sat in the car, but when you were saying you're losing what it's taken you decades to acquire, it's not just the weight, it's the
Yeah.
belief systems, it's the habits, it's the thought processes,
Yes.
and you have to
Right.
re-educate yourself completely um, to be able to do that. Although saying it hasn't been difficult in the sense that the journey I've had over the last 10 weeks. I've had a massive book launch. I've had like massive challenges. It's been like sleepless. I've been up at 3 a.m. getting things done and I've stayed on it. Whereas previously with any other eating plan, it would have knocked me off because I would have felt like my body was in crisis. I'm hungry. I can't function. I can't think. I can't do this. And so I just go back to normal, just like grabbing because I couldn't sustain the complicatedness of the eating plans. Whereas now I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, it's simple. I just need this. I just need that. But to have maybe some boiled eggs in the fridge or some meatballs in the fridge. We make biltong as well, which is a South African
Oh,
thing.
great.
So we can
Yes.
make our own biltong. So I thought I need to make some biltong, slice it up, just have it there so I can just nibble if I
Yeah.
need to, just to carry me through because I do a
Mm.
long day. So
Hmm.
sometimes in between meals is an extended period of time. So just to have something there would be great.
Another thing, and I think like mini meatballs. If you made mini meatballs just every few days, just make them. The kids will eat them, you'll eat them, they'll get eaten. But it's a great way to have like, just like little snacks, like cocktail size, meatballs and with a little bit of crunchy salt on them. I mean, delish. And then you can always heat them up if you need to. You can heat them up in the oven. What I did with mine this morning was I put them in a 120 Celsius oven for about 10 minutes. Just put them in cold from the fridge in there. After 10 minutes, pulled them out. They were perfect. Put some crunchy salt. But then the one I had just like an hour ago, the two that I had were just cold and they were great. So yeah, I think that's a really good strategy to keep that. The other thing is, do you have the Harris Farm market over in your part of Australia?
Not to my knowledge, but it might be in the city
Mm.
that I'm unaware of, but I don't know.
They have something, and I think it's called carnivore snacks or carnivore something. It's called carnivore, and they're basically just dried beef. It's like jerky, but except jerky has a lot of marinade and sugar usually and things like that. And this is carnivore friendly. Somebody told me about it a couple of months ago, and I happened to notice it when I was in there a couple of weeks ago, and the word carnivore jumped out at me and I went, that's that stuff. And I looked at the ingredients, totally carnivore friendly. It was just dried beef. They have two versions and one isn't carnivore friendly because it has like some kind of sugar marinade coating or something on it, but the other one is. So that's another thing is just gradually learning what are the things that like that doesn't need refrigeration. So you can keep that, in your bag or your car or something like that. Meatballs, I bought one of those little lunch kit, like little soft-sided lunchbox things that has like a zipper all the way around and open up, and you have like a little cooler pack that you put in the freezer. So if I'm driving, I'm outside the city, I'm in the countryside, so it's an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to get to Sydney. If I have to go there to do errands or whatever, I can put this little pack in the car and put some meatballs and some boiled eggs in there and keep it, cool even in the summer in this little thing. Another one that's really good is you go to any grocery store and you can get smoked salmon.
Smoked salmon, I'm not so good with.
Mm,
Yeah, not so much for me, but I can understand why. But another thing that I've been noticing over the last week is I feel dehydrated, so I need to be careful with my fluid intake. And I have actually
right.
bought some bone broth to help with that. So I've been having cups of bone broth to try and rehydrate because I do feel, I mean, look, I'm not
And it's good for
100% well,
electrolytes too.
but I
Hmm.
do feel like dry in
Reminding
my
me to have a
throat.
drink.
My eyes are very, very dry at the moment, which I've been on, I have been doing a lot of work. So that's definitely got something to do with it. But I have been aware that I have felt thirsty a lot. So that's something I'm working on. And I've got my elements. And the only flavored elements I have now is the chocolate flavor. All the others are just salt now, just raw salt, the raw stuff, because I didn't want to get hooked on the sweeteners in the other flavors.
Yeah, good idea. And when you say you're doing the little cream, it sounds like you're just doing dollops. Like, would you say a tablespoon or two at a time?
Not even a tablespoon, no, just
Oh,
maybe
wow.
a
It's just a
heaped
splash.
teaspoon. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. And how many times a day would you have that heaped teaspoon of
3 or 4,
cream?
depending on how much coffee I'm having.
And those are all coffees, so you're having 3 or 4 coffees a day?
Well, they're decaf,
Uh-huh.
and so maybe 3 and maybe a hot chocolate with the, yeah,
Cream.
so
So, yeah, I would say that, like, when I was doing the cream, I was having a full sort of quarter cup of cream, third of a cup of cream per day. So I would brew a cup of like a decaf shot into the cream. And then in the summer, I would add a bunch of ice to it. In the winter, I would just sort of drink it all creamy and good. So I think I was having a lot more cream than you are. So it made a huge difference when I stopped the cream, because one day I just kind of went, it's like the fat wasn't coming off kind of the way I thought that it should. Like there had been an initial kind of a drastic drop as the inflammation went away. And I wanted to get more kilos of fat off me. So I just kind of like, all right, it's time to kind of look at the macros a little bit now. And just a side note, only doing carnivore have I been able to tweak my
Mm,
diet.
mm.
Prior to carnivore, when people would talk about, like influencers would talk about, your macros, it up this and up down, I would be like, are you kidding me? I don't have that kind of control over what I eat. Like there's no possible way. I do now, and I found what it was like, all right, I need to, I was motivated. I'd done a lot of healing and I thought, now I want to drop more fat. Let's look at where I can, fix that. So cheese, I started treating cheese like a very occasional rare treat. And again, because carnivore doesn't kind of make you crazy, it didn't actually make me want cheese more. I had total control over the decision to just go, probably won't. Like, I don't think I'll think of cheese as a carnivore staple anymore. I'll think of it as a carnivore treat, an occasional treat.
Indulgence. Yeah.
Yeah, not even an indulgence, because I've shifted my thinking around. Like, indulgent for me is a big fatty steak now.
Mm.
Honestly, like, I'm not just talking myself into it. My body just goes, oh my God, this is so good. I'm so lucky I get to eat this steak with this big fat, section down the side and so on. It's more like a treat, just like a different taste, a different flavor, and probably have a little bit of cheese every 2 weeks or something, and not knock myself out on it. Like I used to go really hard on the cheese. If I went to someone's house, I have a couple of friends that just do really nice little cheese plates. You go over there for dinner and you walk in going, oh, there's going to be really good brie and some little almonds and some, quince paste and whatever. Yeah, I would like harm myself with that cheese before dinner. I would eat so much of it. It was embarrassing. And then I wasn't hungry for dinner, but of course I had to eat the dinner anyway because I wanted to, and it was delicious too. And I just could never, I would say to myself, okay, Naomi, you do not have to eat a huge amount of brie and crackers. It's going to be there. Just have one or two. And I never could. I could never actually follow through on that promise to myself that I made on the doorstep to actually only have. So, but now I can. Yeah, if it's totally great. I go to someone's house and they've got the cheese plate. It's one of the things I can have. I'll have a few mouthfuls of the cheese, a couple of little wedges of brie and eat that. No crackers needed, obviously, or biscuits or anything like that. And it's good. And I'm not out of control around it at all. So I was able to say, all right, the cheese becomes a bit of a flavor treat every now and then. So, every couple of weeks. So it went from almost every day to every couple of weeks. Then the cream, I thought, I probably don't need to give my body a whole lot of extra fat beyond what I'm getting from my meat because I have extra fat on my body. Eating this way puts you in ketosis, which puts you in fat burning mode, but I want the fat that I burn to be the fat on my body. I don't want it to be the fat from my food. Like I need a certain amount of fat from my food, but I don't need to go extra. I did that at the beginning in the first couple of months when I was priming and so on. And it was really good that I did it. So I thought, okay, where can I kind of pull back? Well, I had started to try to eat butter at the amounts that Steak and Butter Gal that Bella was doing. Pretty close. I wouldn't sit there and have a stick of butter on my plate like she does and eat it, out of the wrapper. She's like 5'10" and exercises every single minute of the day. But I was probably I know I was eating way too much butter because it's delicious. And the snacking, the old habits, that snack habit, when I needed a little bit of a snack, I didn't need it. But when I emotionally felt like I deserve a little snack, it was butter. So that's another thing I got to take that off the table, And so I stopped that as well. So the cream and the butter, I took the cream out altogether, actually, to tell you the truth, because I stopped drinking the coffee when I really went down to 1 cup of decaf a day. And I will say that really moved the needle. So there have been times throughout this journey that I have consciously made decisions to eliminate certain things, and I have noticed the effect that that had. And these are the things: decaf coffee, because I haven't done caffeinated since like a year before carnivore. So I really hoped that the decaf wasn't affecting me and that the tea wasn't affecting me. I would have a decaf coffee maybe once a day and a cup of tea, definitely every morning, a cup of black tea. And then I was having that cream, and I was having butter, and I was having cheese, and I was having flavored element, and like in the summertime, Diet Coke. And I knew from watching all these people on carnivore channels and everything that those, any of those things, and even potentially all of them, could be slowing my fat burning. So one phase, one stage, I took away the cheese, became like once every couple of weeks, just a little like treat that was lovely. I took away all the cream. I took away all the butter. Made a massive difference. I wanted to see what would happen if I took away the tea and the decaf. Actually, I took away the decaf coffee when I stopped drinking the cream because I didn't want the plain black decaf. It just wasn't exciting anymore. So I wanted to see what happens if I take away the artificial sweetener, the stevia that's in the element, and the aspartame or whatever it is that's in a Diet Coke. I might have one Diet Coke a day. And what else? And the tea. What happens if I take that away? Because I had done a few months of the other thing and I'd noticed a difference. And I was getting photos taken, having a photo shoot coming up, and I wanted to get as lean as I could before this photo shoot happened. And that's when I did my month of lion diet, because the only way I could emotionally wrap my head around getting rid of my cup of tea in the morning and my diet soda and my lemon lime, like sweet element, was if I was focusing on doing something extreme like lion diet. Another big difference. Made another big difference. And to my delight, in both of those instances, I did not experience feelings of withdrawal, feelings of self-deprivation, because what I'm eating was so good. So it's always, if you keep eating exactly the way you are now, you will keep losing fat. You just will. It'll just keep coming off. Everything you're doing sounds really reasonable. But these are some ideas to think about if you want to speed it up in a safe way at all,
Well, I
because
suppose
those are
for
the things that
me,
worked for me.
it's the coffee and the cream because I don't really
That's
have
your downfall.
butter and I don't really have cheese,
Mm,
but I do have eggs and I do have bacon. So
those
I'm a
aren't
dirty
those aren't
carnivore
a
as well.
problem. No, eggs and bacon aren't dirty carnivore. Yeah, that's a whole section of carnivore called
Oh,
B.
I'm thinking of lion. I'm thinking of lion.
Oh, lion. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's really only the coffee and the cream because I don't really have the other stuff. I mean,
But
I
you
could
drink
probably
sweetened element.
I do once or twice a week. Yeah.
So you only have once or twice a week some sweetened element.
Yeah, the chocolate flavor. So a hot chocolate.
Right, okay. Yeah,
But
so
the
I
other
don't think once or
elements have
twice
got
a
nothing in the
yeah,
elements. I've only got the salt now. No
which
flavor.
I quite like now. I'm used to it and I think
Yeah.
it's quite yummy because it's
Yeah, I
like my
actually have
body,
it in as a hot drink. I quite like it in a hot drink.
all right, cool. Yeah, so one of the things that I believe is that the tea that I was having was making my body just, I mean, my body was not enjoying the tea. I was enjoying the tea, but my body was struggling with it a little bit. And one of the things that tea does is it stops your cells from absorbing the nutrients in the food to a certain degree. So it is possible that the reason that my fat loss accelerated when I stopped drinking that tea every morning is because my body wasn't in kind of a defense mode. And tea has a lot of oxalates in it, black tea. Yeah, I was drinking black tea. I wasn't drinking, some kind of herbal teas. So could it be that? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of an experiment. Like I would say, if you're drinking 3 or 4 cups of decaf a day, the number one question is, can you do that without cream?
Yes, but I can do it without coffee, really. I mean, I think it's a more of a psychological, how much other things should I give up? Do you know what I mean? Because I've given up a lot. And so I think it's
Yes.
a process emotionally and psychologically as well of, okay,
Yes.
I'm just going to hang on to these things for a little while. And then it's sort of coming to the point I'm starting to question myself going, do I really want this? I feel like I'm just hanging
Mm.
on to it for hanging on to its sake. So I can certainly drop the coffee, which isn't a massive
Or
trouble.
maybe take 1 out a week. So
Yeah.
per day, so if you do 4 in a day, for this next whole week, do 3 a day only. And then the
Mm.
week after, do 2 a day only, so that you're kind of giving yourself a chance to get used to having less. You might enjoy that smaller number even more because it's more of a treat. And so you're kind of sneaking away from the habit without triggering any deprivation.
Mm.
And you'll learn to kind of substitute, and maybe you'll start drinking more water and hydrating more just automatically, which is another one of your goals,
Yeah,
is to kind of
definitely.
drink more water. And what about hot water? Have you tried drinking silver tea, or is that just too
Yeah,
depressing?
I always have actually. I've always drank hot water anyway sometimes.
Oh,
So
okay.
for years, I'm happily,
Right.
because I'm very fussy with my hot beverages. So sometimes it's just easier to say to someone, "I'll just have hot water, please," because I know what I'm getting. Because
Mm,
you know what it's like. You like your tea a certain way, or you like your coffee a certain way, or you don't drink this brand, or you do drink that. So it's just easier to go hot water, please. So I've done that for years
yeah.
anyway. So that's not a big drama.
How do you feel when you think about just right now, when you consider cutting down on your coffees and cream? Just tuning into yourself, and just do you feel any kind of reaction of deprivation or self-doubt or anything?
Yes, I know I can do it pretty easily, but there is a sort of feeling of, oh, I've got to give that up again as well now.
Let's tap side of the hand. Even though I've got a little bit of this feeling,
Even though I've got a little bit of this feeling,
I have to give that up too.
I'll have to give that up too.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though when I think about giving up coffee and cream,
Even though when I think of giving up coffee and cream,
I get this, I'll have to give that up too.
I have this feeling of I have to give that up too.
And I don't want to.
I don't really want to.
I accept myself anyway.
I accept myself anyway.
Even though the thought of giving up coffee and cream
Even though the thought of giving up coffee and cream
makes me feel, "Mm, I'll have to give that up too."
makes me feel like, mm, bummer. I have to give that up too.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Bummer. I have to give that up too.
Bummer. I have to give that up too.
I have to give up coffee and cream too.
I have to give up coffee and cream too.
I don't want to give up anything else.
I don't want to give up anything else.
I don't want to give up my coffee and cream.
I don't want to give up my coffee and cream.
I don't want to give up another thing.
I don't want to give up another thing.
Part of me doesn't want to give up another thing.
Part of me doesn't want to give up another thing.
Another part of me is saying something else.
Another part of me, big part of me, is saying something else.
A big part of me is saying, do I really want it anyway?
Big part of me is saying, do I really want it anyway?
But I have another part of me
But I have another part of me
that is saying, I don't want to give up another thing.
that's saying, I don't want to give up another thing.
Not having coffee and cream, that's a bummer.
Not having coffee and cream is a big bummer.
It is a big bummer.
It's a big bummer.
The thought of giving that up,
The thought of giving that up.
coffee with a dollop of cream,
Coffee with a dollop of cream.
it's a big bummer.
It's a big bummer.
I don't want to give it up.
I don't want to give it up.
Okay. Tune into the thought of giving up your coffee and cream, and how much kind of a bummer or resistance do you feel in your body out of 10?
Well, it's weird because the grown-up part of me wants the next phase. I want to lose more fat. I want to go, I want to like kick this up a gear because I feel like
Yeah.
I've laid the foundations well now. So the grown up of me is like, it's not a problem giving up cream. It's not a problem giving up coffee. But there's a child in me that's going, but I want that though, because not that I really want it. I just want it because I want it, but not really because
Okay.
I want it. Do you know what I mean? It's like this
Yes, I do know. And so
childlike.
that's that childlike part. Focus on it and give it permission to really express. And how strong is that feeling in the childlike part? Give it permission to just be honest. I don't want to give that up. I want my cream and coffee. Like, how strong is that feeling right now out of 10?
It's about an 8 because I've
Okay.
loved the health benefits, but there's a lot of stuff that I have emotional attachment to that I
Mhm.
don't feel deprived not having, but it's also like my kids are coming home for Christmas and the grown-up couples cook a meal.
Mhm.
But now they're freaking out because they're like, "Oh, what should we cook that you and dad can eat?" And I said, "Well, don't worry
Mhm.
about us." They said, "We want to cook for you." So it's having more of an impact on our family life as well because they're
Mhm.
trying to accommodate us
Mhm.
and I don't want to be accommodated. I mean, because normally, because Well, my son's partner is Indian, so she makes amazing Indian food, and
Mhm.
my daughter's partner is Chinese, so he makes a beautiful Chinese banquet. I know. So now it's like that, but a lot of the stuff that I would have eaten, I won't eat now. So that's having an impact.
And how does that make you feel when you think about that impact?
I don't like putting other people out.
Even though I don't like putting other people out.
Even though I don't like putting other people out.
And when I think about Christmas,
And when I think about Christmas,
I feel like I'm going to be putting them all out.
I feel like I'm going to be putting them all out.
I deeply and completely accept myself anyway.
I deeply and completely accept myself anyway.
Even though I don't like putting people out.
Even though I don't like putting people out.
And I feel like I'm going to be doing that at Christmas.
And I feel like I could be doing that at Christmas.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I don't want to put them out at Christmas.
Even though I don't want to put them out at Christmas.
It feels uncomfortable to me.
It feels uncomfortable to me.
That's not who I am.
It's not who I am.
Does that feel true when you say those words?
Yeah, I don't like to make a fuss.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I don't like to make a fuss.
I don't like to make a fuss.
I don't like to put people out.
I don't like to put people out.
The thought of Christmas is stressing me out a bit.
The thought of Christmas makes me sad a little bit.
The thought of Christmas makes me sad a little bit.
The thought of Christmas makes me sad a little bit.
Making a fuss.
Making a fuss.
Putting people out.
Putting people out.
Makes me sad a little bit. Under the arm. Makes me feel a bit sad.
Makes me feel a bit sad.
Top of the head. I'm going to be making a fuss at Christmas.
I'm going to be making a fuss at Christmas.
I'm going to be putting people out at Christmas.
I'm going to be putting people out at Christmas.
That makes me a bit sad.
Makes me a bit sad.
I'm going to be making a fuss at Christmas.
Going to be making a fuss at Christmas.
Putting people out.
Putting people out.
Because they don't know what to make for us.
Because they don't know what to make for us.
And I don't like to make a fuss.
And I don't like to make a fuss.
I don't like to put people out.
I don't like to put people out.
It makes me feel sad to think about doing that.
It makes me feel sad to think about doing that.
When I think about Christmas in this way.
When I think about Christmas in this way.
It makes me feel sad.
Makes me feel sad.
And I'm allowed to feel my feelings.
And I'm allowed to feel my feelings.
Does that feel true? That you're allowed to feel your feelings? Keep tapping.
It's like the emotional traditions that we've shared as a family. We won't be sharing through food this year.
Okay.
So there's that sort of, there's that, just silly things like when we get, and we can replace it, but it's just, we would connect a lot through that. And that's going to be different this year.
Even though I'm thinking of the emotional connection.
Even though I'm thinking of the emotional connection.
That we've had through food at Christmas.
That we've had through food at Christmas.
And I don't think it'll be the same.
And I don't think it'll be the same.
And that makes me feel sad.
That makes me feel sad.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I feel like I have to give up that emotional connection.
Even though I feel like I have to give up that particular emotional connection.
That we've had traditionally through food at Christmas time.
That we've had traditionally through food at Christmas time.
And that makes me feel sad.
That makes me feel sad.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I'm thinking about the traditions.
Even though I'm thinking about the traditions.
That involve certain kinds of food.
That involve certain kinds of food.
And the emotional connection through that.
And the emotional connection through that.
And I have to give that up this year.
And I have to give that up this year.
And it makes me feel sad.
And it makes me feel sad.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I'm allowed to feel sad.
I'm allowed to feel sad.
It's giving something up.
It's giving something up.
It's giving up this particular kind of emotional connection.
It's giving up this particular kind of emotional connection.
The kind that came through these particular kinds of foods.
The kind that came through these particular kinds of foods.
Foods I don't eat on the carnivore diet.
Foods that I don't eat on the carnivore diet.
And I feel like that means I'll have to miss out.
And that means I'll have to miss out.
On the traditional connection that came through those foods.
On the traditional connection that came through those foods.
It makes me feel sad.
Makes me feel sad.
We'll be able to connect with other food.
We'll be able to connect through other food.
And other ways of being with each other.
And other ways of being with each other.
But I still have this part of me.
But I still have this part of me.
That connects that experience of Christmas.
That connects the experience of Christmas.
Through certain foods.
Through certain foods.
That I won't be eating.
That I won't be eating.
And this part of me feels like I'm giving up that bit of connection.
And there's a part of me that feels like I'll be giving up that part of the connection.
Because I won't be eating the same foods as them.
Because I won't be eating the same foods as them.
So I won't be able to connect with them in the same way.
So I won't be able to connect with them in the same way.
They'll be eating all those foods,
They'll be eating all of those foods,
and I'll be there at the table with them,
and I'll be there at the table with them,
and I'll be eating my meat,
and I'll be eating my meat,
but they'll be eating all those delicious Chinese and Indian cuisines
but they'll be eating lots of different Chinese and Indian cuisines
and all those other Christmas carbs.
and all of the other Christmas carbs,
And I won't feel as connected to them
and I won't feel as connected to them
because I'm not putting those same foods in my mouth,
because I'm not putting those same foods in my mouth,
even though I'm sitting there with them.
even though I'm sitting there with them.
Maybe I will feel just as connected.
Maybe I will feel just as connected.
Maybe I'll discover
Maybe I'll discover
that I feel just as connected,
that I feel just as connected,
that it never was about the food.
that it never was about the food.
The food was just associated with that time of year connection.
Food was just associated with that time of year connection.
That connection is there anyway.
That connection is there anyway.
Maybe I'll be sitting there eating my meat
Maybe I'll be sitting there eating my meat
while they eat their carb and vegetable dishes,
while they eat their carb and vegetable dishes,
and we'll all be at the same table,
and we'll all be at the same table,
laughing and talking,
laughing and talking,
enjoying each other's company,
enjoying each other's company,
celebrating the time of year,
celebrating the time of year.
and I'll feel just as much love and connection.
And I'll feel just as much love and connection.
And they'll be so happy for me
They'll be so happy for me
because they'll see how much healthier I am than I was last year.
because they'll see how much more healthy I am than I was last year.
And they'll be able to tell I'm happier because of it.
And they'll be able to tell I'm happier because of it.
So maybe health becomes the new connection,
So maybe health becomes the new connection,
the joy of being healthier.
the joy of being healthier.
Maybe I'm not really giving anything up.
Maybe I'm not really giving anything up.
Maybe I'm just making a trade.
Maybe I'm just making a trade.
And I might notice that after this Christmas,
And I might notice that after this Christmas,
I don't have any more of that sadness left
I don't have any more of that sadness left
because I realize I haven't given up anything at all.
because I realize that I haven't given up anything at all.
Okay, stop and take a nice, comfortable breath. How does that feel?
Yeah, good. It's interesting, isn't it? How you attach things, the traditions. And we've always we've baked and we've cooked and we've prepared and it's all the things.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see how it plays out.
And you can still do all that baking and cooking with them.
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Like,
But it's the interesting the other day, both of the kids baked. They're very proficient in the kitchen, which is great. I don't need to hover over them. And they wanted me to taste their cakes. And I was like, I don't really do that anymore, darling, because, and I just explained for my health and everything. But I felt sad. I felt I disappointed them because they wanted me to taste their cake. And at the moment in my stage of the journey, I just don't feel comfortable doing that. But I
Yeah.
praise them on the look of it and the texture, and everybody else praised them up, but there's that little element as well that, as a mum,
Yeah.
that's tricky.
And look, there might come a day when you can have a little bite and it doesn't send you into a sugar spiral nightmare because you're so scaffolded with your carnivore way of eating that a little bite isn't going to send you on a
Derail you.
slippery slope. Yeah. And it'll be a little bite because you'll know that if you take a big bite, you could feel really sick the next day. You'll be thinking about, what am I doing tomorrow? Yeah, I've got meetings. I've got work to do. I can't afford to be sleepy in the afternoon. So it's going to be a tiny bite, Just the same way when a child brings you a pie that they've made out of mud in the backyard when they're little and they hand you this plastic plate with a big heaping pile of mud with some sticks and grass. And they go, would you like some of this? There's nothing that could make you take a bite of it. You go and you pretend, and the kid goes, isn't it good? They're not noticing that you're not eating any of it. So you can kind of compensate with older kids the same kind of way. Go, that looks so good. I can just imagine how good that is. And someday I'm going to be able to have a bite of something like that and my health will still be great. So
yeah, they were pretty good, but there was a disappointment in my son's eyes. I think that's what got me. But I told the older siblings and they all went to town on going, this is delicious. This is the best banana bread I've ever tasted. So that was nice. But
and if you see that disappointment, if you see a disappointment like that, in your son's eyes, you can say to your son, it looks like you're disappointed. Tell me how you're feeling about me not having a bite. Because a lot of times, no emotion is a bad emotion. the only time emotions ever get to be a problem is when you suppress them. So if he feels he has to hide the disappointment, but he goes, I'm disappointed that you won't taste how good it is, or I'm disappointed that you won't know, that we can't have this fun together, then you can always answer that in a way that compensates for it and meets how he's feeling and honors it without just kind of leaving him to feel like whatever it is he's feeling, whatever's causing that disappointment, and
Yeah, and
of
we're pretty
course,
good at talking things through. I mean, he knows that I'm doing this for my health, and we did have a chat about it, and also
yeah,
the other siblings whooping him up was great. And he did a great job. Like, it looked really professional. And he
that's so
iced it,
great.
and it was so good. And like, he's a good little chef. So, that was excellent.
Well, a friend of mine sent me, what was it? She was over for dinner on Saturday night, and I think I sent her something, or I showed her something my sister, the chef, had sent me. Some recipe. Oh, I know what it was. It was a food, a thing that my sister had sent me on Instagram. And I sent it to her and I said, I need you to make this. Oh, you know what it was? Little mini pretzels all over a baking tray. And then you put blocks of chocolate, dark, medium, and light and white chocolate, a grid on top of the pretzels, put it in the oven, melt it. So you're making Christmas bark. And then you take you know, red and green peanut M&Ms and you sprinkle those around and push them in, and then you make it cold and you break it into little chunks. It looks gorgeous. I was saying to her, you have to make this. And she said, it's so weird. Like, you don't eat anything like this anymore. She said, would you be tempted to eat it if I made it? And I went, nope, not even slightly tempted, because it would be fun from here up. Like, my mouth would really enjoy it, but my body would go, oh, it would just feel like toxic terribleness in my body. I'm just viscerally aware of that. There's no sense of deprivation. It's just a feeling that my mouth is disconnected from my body in terms of what that experience would be like. And I know that I probably have like IBS type symptoms the next day because of those pretzels. Like, I mean, I have vivid recall of times when I've thought, oh, it's okay, I can just have a little, the breading on this, honey chicken or something at this restaurant. I'm writhing the next day. So not even tempted. She goes, it's so weird that you're still into it. I said, well, I'm not super into that kind of food, but this is incredibly imaginative. It looks gorgeous. I know it will taste delicious. It's so festive. It's so easy. It's so cool. It would make a great hostess gift. I can get behind that. So I'm still involved in the Christmassiness of the sweets and stuff. I just don't want it in my body. So we could still bond and connect over this thing. In fact, I was saying to her, you have to make this because I want the kind of,
Passive smoker.
yes. I'm a passive baker. That's exactly right. I want her to make it. I want her to make little gifts with little cellophane bags and give it to people. And I mean, I would be too big a hypocrite if I actually made that and gave it to people. So, I feel like a drug dealer. But for other people to do it, who they're not carnivore and stuff. And it looks fun. It looks festive. It's kind of like a once a year thing. She eats pretty healthfully normally, except she's not a carnivore. So, yeah, I can still enjoy. And when I've mentioned before, if I have a barbecue, I always say, look, I'll do the meat. I'll do mixed grill or something. And everybody brings sides because I don't do sides. I don't have anything to make sides. I don't have vegetables in the house. And so this parade of beautiful looking salads and, breads and all these different things come marching in the door, and it's all set up at the table and it looks gorgeous. I'm taking photos of it. It looks amazing. Not even tempted to touch it, and really, does anyone care that I have not put some of that salad in my mouth? Does anyone really care? No, they don't really care. It's kind of all in my mind, if at all I was worried that they do. People notice what you're eating for about 2 seconds and they focus on it if it threatens them in some way. Like if they're eating something that they feel uncomfortable eating around you, or, something like that. But no, it doesn't spoil. If people have made peace with how you eat, they understand the reason for it. Just like if someone was celiac and it's dire for them to eat any wheat, would you take it personally? Would you be hurt? Would you disconnect from them emotionally if they came over to your house and they didn't eat any bread? They didn't eat it? No, of course you wouldn't. So there's a little bit of adjustment, and tapping can help just kind of acknowledge that and process it, because Christmas, I think, it's a big challenge for people that are eating in a completely different way. And there's a turkey and a ham and prawns, depending on what country you're in. There's meat, but then there's a whole lot of other stuff that ain't carnivore. So anyway, hope you feel a little bit better and that you get over the bug. And thanks for showing up. And I wasn't prepared. I mowed my lawn right before I got a text from you saying, if you want to jump on, I'm good. I was like, okay, people won't be able to tell that I haven't had a shower after mowing the lawn. I'll do that next. But thank you so much, Cathy. Congratulations on week 10. Next week is week 11. And hope you guys have enjoyed this catch up and learned from it. Please subscribe, comment below, and you will be notified if you subscribe when the next episode drops. So thanks for watching. And thanks again, Cathy. I'll see you next week.